Good morning from a California perspective. From Pebble Beach, the Pacific Ocean is blue, the sky is blue, the golf course is very green, and I have the privilege of sitting upstairs in our home and looking out over all of it. And it's a wonderful thing to talk about, a wonderful perspective from which to talk about the power of goals and a business plan. By way of introduction, the next webinar in January will be on the 5 things that I consider the most critical things in why we've been able to accomplish or to be rewarded and be blessed and all those things the way we have in the business, those 5 things. And so let's not worry about exactly what those 5 things are. Just one of the 5 is this one. And it's interesting that all of that came about, and I'll repeat this for the next webinar, but all of that came about from people through the years, and this has happened to many of you too. Once you reach a certain level of success, people come up to you regularly and go, man, if you could just tell me one thing that made the difference. And the only answer I'd really ever given to that was, the one thing I can tell you is it wasn't one thing. But not too long ago, I finally sat down with myself and Cindy, and we talked about what things could you not have and still have gotten where we were. And we started talking about some of those things, and we got down to the 5 things we absolutely had to have in order for us to be blessed the way we have been and the way we are. And these things are still blessing us today, and you'll wait for next month for all of that. But number 5 on that list is this one. Years ago, I was sitting in a meeting with one of my mentors, the founder of the company that I was at that point a part of, and he started talking about how when he was early in the business, he read this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And that on page 36 of that book, and that was the printing back then, it was always on page 36. There are other printings where it's not there, but the title of it was How to Turn Your Desires into Gold. And it had 6 steps, a process of 6 steps. And he talked about how powerfully that hit him as he read it, and that he then did it, and he showed us some of the rudimentary aspects of his plan, just writing on an overhead back in 1981, and it hit me. It was one of those golden moments, and you have a number of them on the path to success, where your thinking gets elevated and your insight increases. And both understanding and wisdom, a portion of it, come to you, and you go, oh, now it wasn't all there at once, but I knew I'd heard something very, very important when he talked about that. So when I went home, I grabbed my copy of the book. I looked at page 36. There was the list. And those 6 things we'll talk about. But we want to talk about first, when you think about, when I call it the power of goals in a plan, what does the power mean? What's the reference if I say it has power? And so we're looking, all of us, to have a winning process in our lives. If you're a great golfer or you want to become a great golfer, you need a winning process and how you play the game and how you prepare to swing and, everything. Same over a putt, and I mean, wear you out if you're not a golfer. It'd be the same thing. There's a winning process in every sport, and you got to know, and you've got to discover it. A little bit of it's individualized. Some of it's common to all of us. But you've got to have some things in your head, and that's what the plan does. It puts those things in your head and in your heart, too, in your emotions. But what comes from having a winning process? The first one is it increases mental clarity. When you put your dreams on paper, good things can happen, because without getting in writing and without developing a plan, and our first slide said this, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Well, if a goal without a plan is just a wish, what's a goal without ever having written it down to begin with? It's some lesser portion of a wish. And so as we're coming into a new year, and there's a reason I'm giving this in the December webinar, and it's a tradition, becoming a tradition that I do this month, because it's so important. It hurts. I tell you what, this hurts to give this webinar, and I don't say that about any other webinar. This one hurts, because I know most of you listen to it. We've got over 1,000 locations listening to this. Most of you, even those of you who resolve during this webinar, I'm going to do it this time, or I'm going to do it for the first time, for whatever reason, you won't do it. You just settle back into your life, or you do one, but you didn't work with a mentor or some leaders who know more about it than you do to get what you needed written down. By the time I heard this the first time in my career, I had enough mileage and experience that I was able to write a pretty good comprehensive plan. It was just running my base shop and all. And it was just a business plan. I hadn't turned it to other areas of my life. And I learned that it had so much power that actually just having a business plan distracted from other areas of my life, because I became so focused and obsessed. And I didn't want to be one-dimensional, so I broadened it. And I'll talk about that today, too. But the first thing, this winning process, clearly defining your goals and developing a written plan, is it does increase mental clarity. All right? Next thing is it intensifies your focus. This is a pretty remarkable experience. One of the things I talk about at our retreats that we're all good at, it's not like I've not mentioned this before. I mention it wherever I go and speak. Two of the things we're really good at as human beings, and we kind of are hardwired with this. This is not a strength, by the way, is one, we are great at procrastinating. It's just a very rare person who isn't a procrastinator. And two, we're good at drifting. We literally drift whole sections of our lives. Many people drift almost their entire lives. Sure, they get a job, so that structures their life a little bit. I got to get up at a certain time. They can eat lunch at a certain time. They go home at a certain time. Here's their work, and it's, and they've got to do their work, and they get employee reviews, and all that kind of stuff. There's a structure. You got to go to the grocery store once in a while. You watch your favorite TV show or whatever the heck it is that gives your life structure, and that's it. But there's no intense focus, right? Something that you think about. And you're thinking about a vision, morning and noon and night. Just thinking about what that means. And Raja, I will. Raja Dhaliwal just sent me a text. Cindy and I just spent 4 of the most delightful days of our life up with Raja and Jazz and Rial and Claudette and their leadership team there. Just absolute delight. And 4,200 of their people. And we've never felt more welcome. And anyway, we both have remarked about it, Cindy and I, again. After spending a few days around those people, and in particular, Riel and Claudette and Raja and Jazz, now we feel like we've separated. Emotionally, I feel damaged. Anyway, wonderful people. Anyway, he asked me a question, I answered it. Back to this. Thinking about your vision morning, noon, and night, what that means, that kind of intensified focus. Most of us have not gone on extended stretches of our lives with intensified focus. Now, but let's think about a few times you may have. A couple preparing for their wedding, in particular the bride. All this is intensified focus on all the details. Everything going into that. We can think of a big games coming up in your sport, and your team's going to be in the national championship game, or your team's in the league championship, or whatever it is, and you're there, and the whole school's rallied around it. It's coming this weekend, and it's all you're talking about. Signs are up, and there's a rally, and it gets an intense focus. It's on your mind the whole time. The wedding was considerably more important than the game at this point. In the business, to give it a parallel, you're driving for a promotion, or you're driving to qualify at a contest to go on a trip to Hawaii or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, your game is elevated because of your focus. You have a goal. You have a process. It usually isn't written down, but you have a process in your mind. Your communication level picks up with your team. Your energy level picks up with your team. And all of a sudden, really special things happen, far beyond your normal performance. What if you could harness that on a week-in and week-out basis and be playing at something close to that kind of level for years at a time? Think about what that would mean for years at a time. So you've got your vision in your head for your family, for yourself financially, for your business, for your faith, and you're thinking about it morning, noon, and night. You have clearly defined goals in each of those areas. You have them written down. You have a plan written down to make those goals happen. When the plan gets a little stale, or you want to say it a different way, you set everything aside because this is top priority, and you refresh your plan, kind of rewrite it. And then but you never stop reading it, morning and night, morning and night, morning and night. What this fuels is the third thing I'm going to talk about, besides intensified focus, is you begin to develop this burning desire, right? You have the frustration of seeing and believing your dreams, but not yet achieving them. So now you have increased mental clarity. You have an intensified focus, morning, noon, and night. I promise you, from my experience, you'll start dreaming about some of this stuff. That's how entrenched in your mind, your subconscious, that it becomes. And stuff's bubbling up out of the plan constantly during the day in your head. And all of a sudden, your conversations with your people are different. Your meetings are planned different and with a different and delivered with a different intensity. Everything you're doing, a follow-up interview with a new person, standing in front of somebody giving a presentation, whatever, or sitting. Anyway, whatever it is, takes on a different shine. And all of a sudden, there's a greater power in your personality. See, a lot of you think, especially when we're new, and I went through this too. You talk about, well, I just don't have enough confidence. I just don't have enough clarity. Look, you're not born with this stuff. You're not born with confidence. You don't have confidence. You build confidence. You don't have clarity. You build it. You don't have focus. You build it. You don't have a burning desire. Well, I don't have a burning desire. I've never felt that way really about anything. Well, I haven't either. Not like this. Oh, for little short moments, I'm in a game and I want to win it. Right? But not this kind, where it encompasses your entire life. And you look at some people and you think, man, they're amazing. I'm just not like that guy. Well, that's because you haven't built yourself to be that person. Everybody has to, all these things have to be earned. And so now we have clarity, focus, burning desire. And what we're developing now, the fourth thing, is what I'll call a healthy obsession. I think unhealthy obsessions are on things that aren't worthy, right? And the biblical story from the Old Testament of King David, right, a righteous man and prophet who developed an unhealthy obsession with another woman, another man's wife. And it went a long way toward destroying his life. It certainly destroyed theirs. And so we're talking about healthy obsession. Is this kind of a clarity, intensified focus, and burning desire needs to be aimed at worthy things. We'll talk about that in a second. So now you're thinking, you're strategizing, you're moving closer every day And all four of these things are amazing because they feed your vision and they starve your fear. Imagine if fear and doubt got starved in your life and you had a vision you were constantly feeding. I just want you to know my mind is not powerful enough, and probably most of yours aren't either. My mind is not powerful enough to maintain clarity and focus, the desire, that healthy obsession, without it being this stuff being clearly defined and without it being in writing. I just can't get close. Now, we're going to start this process of giving it an overview. I'm going to start with something I call my top 10. This is for engaging your emotions. I don't remember when I thought of this. I mean, realistically, probably somebody said something that made me think it. And I'm not trying to tell you I've been original in any of this. Obviously, it had been written decades before my life on page 36 in Think and Grow Rich. And by the way, in that plan, and we'll cover those things I'll get ahead of myself. So let's talk about engaging your emotions and that top 10. I decided that I wanted to find a way to fire myself up and to keep myself fired up. And it was interesting. You know, I had to do that. And the top 10 was that, and I'll come back to it. But after the top 10, and what I mean by top 10, my top 10 reasons for being in the business, for wanting to be a success story, for wanting to, be the right kind of person, a better human being, a good spiritual human being, all of this stuff. I needed those reasons in writing. Next, I needed to create a definite plan for carrying out the desire. And this is the way it was written in the book. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. And begin at once, whether you're ready or not, to put your plan in action. One of the things we do, and it's a mistake, is we say, well, I'm waiting for the timing to be better in my life. Well, timing comes and goes, and it usually goes. And you've got to make it happen anyway. This is why you need this. So that you're at a different level of clarity and focus, right, and intensity. And so there's an obsession about you, several obsessions. And even though there's stuff happening and somebody gets sick or there's an issue or whatever it is, you are on your plan and on your goals all the time. And another thing that was written is write a clear, concise statement of your specific goals and objectives. Establish a time limit for each. You got to have a deadline or the goal doesn't count. State what you intend to give in return, right? Because there's no such thing as something for nothing, you guys. So these two paragraphs are a distillation of the 6 things. So you've got a top 10 engaging your emotions. You have a definite plan for carrying out whatever it is you're desiring or focusing on, and you begin at once whether you're ready or not to put it in action. You write a clear, concise statement of the specific goals and objectives. You establish a time limit. You state what you're willing to give in return, and you describe clearly the plan to which you intend to achieve them. This is very powerful. Very powerful. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about just the top 10 reasons for a minute, and then we'll get into the other 2 things. For any business plan to grow wings and flies, that's just my way of saying it right now, you got to engage your most intense positive emotions. And this is one of the ways it can be done. Again, some people seem to keep this in their head. I needed to remind myself of them. I needed to constantly run this through my brain, run it through my heart. And I'm going to read you what my kind of original top 10 reasons were. I put some blanks in it. That's where you'd put your own names, your own children. But I'm going to read them to you. I'm going to read them to you, but I just want you to listen to what I'm reading. I want you to rise above it a little bit, look down on the process and think, okay, what if I was doing this? What if I had taken the time? By the way, this was really hard work. I tried to get 10 reasons. I set that goal for myself when I started, and I wrote down one, Then I pondered. Then I wrote down 2. And now I was hitting a wall. And then I wrote down 3, and it was kind of a combination of 1 and 2. And I thought, man, am I shallow or something? And the answer was, yeah, kind of. Most of us are. Why? Because we don't think about this stuff. We don't have it in writing anywhere. What are the 10 most positive reasons that would fully engage your emotions in your life? Cause you to become a different person that burns at a different brightness. It takes you from, cold iron to white hot. How do you do that? And here's one way. So I'm going to read some of these. Here was the first one that I wrote down. My love for Cindy and our children, and I'd put Alicia, Richard, and Brett. My love for Cindy, Alicia, Richard, and Brett creates a desire to provide real security, a life free from fear and worry about material concerns. I want independence for her and I, so we can spend our time and energy in our relationship and our family. So that was one of the reasons, and I would read this with passion. My love for Cindy and our children creates a desire to provide real security, a life free from fear and worry about material concerns. I want independence for her and I, so we can spend our time and energy in our relationship and our family. So you see the way I read that? I read it with emotion. It means something to me. I was willing to fight for this. If somebody quit, I was going to fight past it. If people didn't show up at the meeting when they said they would, I fought past it. Right? If the base shop didn't do that well that month, I fought past it. If we went for something and we didn't get it, I fought past it. Just that one alone had power, but it wasn't all. There were 9 more. Here's the next one. It's exciting to work within a situation that encourages emotional growth day by day. It requires me to become a better person. You see, that's a vision I have of this business today. Cindy and I both thought we love what we do, the mentoring, the coaching, the responsibility we feel to set a good example individually and as a couple and as a family, and the fact that I've got to be giving and thoughtful of others and help them be patient. I got to be patient while they're working through their struggles. All of that helped improve me as a human being. And I love that about this business system, our business model. We got to give before we get. We've got to build others before we get something built for ourselves. It's exciting to work within a situation that encourages emotional growth day by day. It requires me to become a better person. Just those 2 things would be energizing. But I'm not done. I can be somebody, have a feeling of self-worth, and know I can make a difference for others with my life. Number 4, I want to be part of an enterprise, an effort, a career that I can love doing. I love the challenge and positive excitement. I want it to test me, to cause me to extend myself, and to motivate me to become all I can become. Can you see how reading these morning and night changes how you feel about the day, changes how you feel what you're going to be doing during the day, what you're going to be working on, what you're going to be striving for? Here's the 5th one. I love to help and give to others as a way of life. I gain great value and happiness and a powerful feeling of well-being by such effort. That blends a little bit of making from number 3 and make a difference to others in my life, but it's specific. I love to help and give to others as a way of life. I gain great value and happiness and a powerful feeling of well-being by such effort. So just reading those 5 things, written in your own words, of course, according to the way you want it, in whatever order you would do it, those things now engage you at a different level. Let's keep going. Number 6, it's great to associate with leadership. I can follow with confidence in their character and morality. Now I'm one of those people that people have to follow. I read this one and remind myself I need to be the kind of person that people could follow with confidence about my character and my morality. And so do you. Right? And so this has power again. Number 7, I can be in the people business and grow in my understanding of human nature so as to apply that invaluable understanding to motivate others to be good and to be somebody for wholesome reasons and purposes. I can't tell you how much this business has taught me about leadership that I brought back to our marriage, Cindy too, that I brought back to raising children and now contributing to grandchildren being raised. I can't tell you how much difference it's made in my church callings and responsibilities. Right now I have a stewardship of working with young single adults. Well, I understand people so much better than I did 30 or 40 years ago, right? This people business that we're in World Financial Group, causes us to grow in our understanding of human nature. I'm just reading it back to you. And then we get to apply that really invaluable understanding to a lot of other things, right? To motivate others to be good, to motivate our families to be good, to motivate other people that we're serving, and to be somebody for wholesome reasons and purposes. We all want to be somebody for wholesome reasons and purposes, not just have people talk about us because we're a buffoon, right? Or we made a big mess. There are lots of reasons to get notoriety. By which you can get notoriety. You want them to be worthy, and so that's one of my top 10 reasons. Number 8, I have and maintain total financial independence, to have peace of mind, and to make decisions based on motives other than my own financial needs. I must use my resources to bless the lives of others. We sat down yesterday. I won't give you the particulars. We sat down with a charity. I'll tell you the nature of the charity. It's assisting battered women and their children that are fleeing these terrible situations. Tragically, they told me today they have to assist more and more battered men and their children that are fleeing those situations. Crazy that it's both sides of the gender line now. But there it is, right? And we sat down with these people that are head of this program, and they talked about what they needed and the amount they needed. And I asked them, would they excuse us a minute? And they actually asked them to leave their own office. And Cindy and I talked, and I felt prompted, right, that we needed to give more. And I talked about it to Cindy. She felt the same way. And we did 2.5 times more than we initially thought we'd do when we went in there. And we get to make decisions based on motives other than our own financial needs. We get to use our resources to bless the lives of others, maybe even save lives. What a privilege that is. When we went in and when we left, we sat in the car for a couple of minutes just sitting there, basking in that feeling that we had of doing what we'd just done for that organization. The feeling that the Spirit of the Lord gives you, I believe that's where it comes from. That's our belief anyway. If you disagree, don't hold it against us. I'm not going to hold it against you. You do, right? But that's that feeling we got, that wonderful spirit of reward that we had done the right thing, and He was pleased. And what a great feeling. And now I can track that directly back to us building our business, maintaining our focus, the goals we had defined, the plan that we developed, the things that moved it, the emotional engagement that we have with the business. Yeah. And so a top 10 read, if all you did was read this and make you more energized for whatever you were doing that day, that would be a good thing. Number 9, we will make our home a place of safety and security, a place in the world to call our own, and raise our children with happiness and love. And so that's obviously an emotional thing for me as a father and a husband. We'll make our home a place of safety and security, a place in the world to call our own, and raise our children with happiness and love. And so we have done that with our homes, not just physical security, but emotional security. There's peace here, there's harmony here. That energizes me in all areas of my life. But it's not just resources that creates this, but resources contributed to it. It sure contributed to the view I'm looking at right now. Number 10, I can aspire through this effort to know I made a positive difference with my business life, that I kept balance and perspective as to what a good life really is. Especially nowadays, we've got all these imposters out on social media, and there's so much ego and bragging and materialistic stuff, and just really shallow crap. Sorry, but it is. And we've never wanted to be that kind of an example. We wanted to reach people's hearts. We wanted to help them grow spiritually. We wanted to make a contribution in the ways that really makes a difference. So when I read this number 10, I can aspire through this effort to know that I made a positive difference in my business life, that I kept balance and perspective as to what a good life really is. Now, when you read those 10 things, one after the other, boom, 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 all 10, wow, it moves you. It moves you. And it's a great thing. So that's the top 10 reasons. And that has a power all in its own. But it clearly defines why you're doing what you're doing in your life. You know, and engages your emotion. Because, hey, we're emotional creatures. When we're not feeling much emotion, we don't accomplish anything. It's called flat. We're flat, or we're apathetic. We don't care. Those states of mind do not create, do not accomplish. And so I had to fight apathy. I had to fight not caring. How? By writing down these deep things that I care most about. And I had to work to get 10 of them. I mean, there's a lot of work. This is work. It's one of the reasons most of you won't do it. But I'm telling you, if you do, you'll sure be glad. Let's keep going. Now let's go with goals, objectives, and deadlines. And we talked, when I gave the overview of that process. So here's the 6 steps, kind of the process of them that I read in that book. By the way, in the book, it just talked about turning your desires into money, their financial equivalent. You know, I just had never felt all that good reading about money, because it was a motivation, but it wasn't my primary motives. My primary motives were deeper than that. You know, I talked about financial independence in those top 10 reasons, but it was about safety and security for my family, right? Peace of mind, right? We don't have to spend so much of our time worrying about just getting by, having the resources to give to others, the reward of that. That's why we wanted to prosper financially, right? But there were other things we wanted to do that were more important than that, about who we were going to become as people and helping other people become more, just to contribute to lives, to make a difference. And so I didn't write my plan just around money. And so I wrote it around, here, let's look at it. The first thing you got to do is you got to get a fix in your mind. The exact number of recruits, sales, promotions, income, savings that you desire. You got to be definite as to the amount. So every month I'd update my base shop plan. The plan stayed the same quite often from month to month, but I would say, okay, this is April. Previous month is March. I had a number of recruits and a number of sales, and so now I put down how many I think were the number of recruits, number of sales we're going to make this month, right? And these kind of things were constantly in front of me. So if I got to the 5th of the month and we weren't on pace with our recruiting to hit that number, I had to increase my intensity. I had to rally the team. I had to increase their focus. I had to communicate about this more. If I hadn't been reading it and I hadn't set the goal, then any number we were at after 5 days was okay. I mean, as long as it was something. But, I mean, that state of mind can't compete with the one I'm talking about. I mean, even though you're the same person, it's 2 completely different states of mind and 2 completely different set of results. So you got to fix in your mind the exact number of recruits, sales, promotions, income, savings you desire. You got to be definite as the amount. Next, you got to determine exactly what you intend to give in return, right, to achieve those goals and dreams. So I wrote down I'm willing to give 6 days a week, 5 nights. I'd come home usually Saturday afternoon, unless we were doing a big event. And then on Saturday evening, Cindy was usually there with us. It's one of the reasons the children there, little, would come into the office and that kind of thing. But the reality was, I was willing to give it 6 days, 5 nights, be home with my family for sure Saturday. Sunday we did church and our callings and family time. And it was always that way. If there's a particular need, I would clear a spot in the week. I would do something. Cindy kept me. We would constantly consult about that. We had family councils once a week. I had one-on-one listening interviews, and that's because I wrote all that stuff into a plan. So we ended up having this great home life, this great marriage, this great family life, while we were obsessed with doing something great in the business too. right? So, but you got to give something in return. You're going to have to pay a price. No such thing as something for nothing. And so you better have that written down and remind yourself. You're going to be more enthusiastic every day. You're going to be more positive. That's part of what you got to give in return. You can't be your same old self and expect a different result. You're going to have to grow. Remember I said you just don't have these things. You work for them. You work toward them. You identify that's something that's a goal in your life, to be more positive, to smile more, whatever it might be, to be more upbeat, and you get it in print. And you read it, and you tie it to your reasons, your top 10 reasons, and all of a sudden, this flame starts burning inside of you, and you start incrementally improving yourself day in and day out, month in and month out, year in and year out, and you look back after a few years, people are going, I remember when you used to be this way. You're a different person now. Usually they were saying that to me about becoming a better person. You're a better person now than you used to be. But, at least that felt good. I wasn't heading the wrong direction. All right, another thing, you have a definite date for their achievement. I'm not sure you can have a definite date you're going to be more positive, but I just think I always said I was going to be more enthusiastic every day. I was just trying to be more positive, look on the bright side of life every day. These are phrases that just flow from my mouth because they've been part of my plan for a long time. Whoops. Hold on a second. I have a little bit of a muscle dip. There we go. Had a little glitch here. So you've got an exact number: recruits, sales, promotions, income, savings you desire. You got definite amounts. You determine what you're willing to give in return. You set a definite date for their achievement. Of course, the production of my base, the definite date was always the end of the month. Then I reset them, and the new date was the end of the next month. At the same time, I had a goal for producing, at one stretch, 50 first-generation SMDs by a certain date, and that was a couple of years down the road. But then I got there, and then I upgraded it to 100, right? And I set a definite date for that. All of these things were part of clearly defined goals and a written plan. What a marvelous thing. But you need to commit to your deadlines, right? Commit to your deadlines. It's got to matter. The first thing that I did was even a version of a written plan. When I joined the business, they gave me this form, and it showed the different promotion levels in the base until you got to SMD, and it had what the requirements were, and then off to the right, it had a space where you could put a date when you were going to make it. And I sat down with Cindy, and we set a date for each one of those things. Back then, I hit the first one, then I hit the second one. There's a third one in the base. I hit the third one. The fourth one, and there aren't four in our base shop guidelines now, but there were back then. The fourth one I missed. I missed it by a couple, 3 months. And because of that, because I had it up and I was looking at it in the house at the office, it started burning in me, and I redoubled my efforts, and we ended up making the SMD promotion just a few days late, even though we'd gotten behind on the fourth one. That was the power of having it in front of me. And having the guidelines is a little mini version of a plan. But at least it was a clearly defined goal built around the promotion guidelines, and the plan was whatever the requirements were. And I got obsessed about doing that, obsessed about hitting the deadlines. I didn't realize then I was harnessing this power, right? And I'm sure a lot of people took that, looked at it, wrote on it, and then, put it in a folder or threw it away. And it never had power, but for us it did. Now, inspiring yourself to do it. That's the big deal, isn't it? Anybody can write the stuff down, even write down the top 10 reasons, but how do you inspire yourself to do it? The top 10 reasons help you do that, but here's the process for inspiring yourself to do it. You read your written statement aloud twice daily, morning and night. And listen to this. So you're reading the top 10 reasons about those things, and you visualize it all being true. Now you've gotten into your plan for your business and maybe some other areas of your life, and you're reading it morning and night out loud. You read it. As you read it, here's what you do. You see it. You feel it. My plan gives me goosebumps regularly. And you believe yourself already in possession of the things that you desire. Whether it was that 50 first-generation SMDs, right? Or having $1 million in savings and then upgrading that. Having, achieving these things in your base. You see it. You feel it. You believe that this is happening. You're already in possession of it. You got to see it before you have it. That's hard to explain, isn't it? It's one of those intangible, even spiritual things that is difficult to articulate. But I just know it's true. You got to see it before you'll have it. Burning desire is critical here. And that's why you've got to have your top 10 reasons, and you got to be thinking about it. You got to be reading it, and you got to be seeing it. That's what fuels the desire. I can't believe how many people think they're already somehow, if you don't have burning desire right now, you're never going to have it. You're just not that kind of person. It's just like completely doesn't understand the process of growth, right? And you think about how good you're going to feel when you do it, how good you're going to feel when you have it. We started visualizing a home like what I'm sitting in right now, doing this webinar. 40 years ago, during our courtship, Cindy and I took a drive down a road called 17 Mile Drive, and we looked at the houses, and we thought, wow, we love this area. How wonderful it must be to have a home here. And we visualized it. We come down here and looked at houses. We came down and looked at houses for over 10 years before we bought one. You know what we were doing while we were doing it? Visualizing it. I knew it happened. And then we did it. And here we are. We love it. Right? And so this is the power of this. This is the manifestation of it. If you will do this, there are people you look at now that you think are somehow invincible, unbeatable. But if you'll do this, and you'll do it long term, one day they'll be in your rearview mirror, accomplishment-wise. That is so true. That is so true. All right. By the way, continuing with the topic of inspiring yourself to do it, you got to read good books, listen to good messages to grow and be inspired. This is a big deal. You got to write deep and important emotions into it. Combine this with your top 10 list. In other words, you read your top 10, but you're going to take that kind of stuff and flavor your plan. You're going to put a phrase about this. We're going to have $1 million in savings. I'm going to love how our family is going to feel when we're completely debt-free and have this kind of savings. And you write that right in your plan. And you see it, and you feel it, and you believe it. This is something that changes everything. Now you're reading the good books, you got the emotions, you see your top 10, and you are on your way to becoming a very different caliber of player in anything that you're doing. Anything that you're doing. If you want to be a professional sports person and whatever, right, this would be a critical process to get there. Now, let's talk about the methods to inspire others, like I'm trying to do with you right now to get you to do it. What are you doing with your teams? Because not only do you have to do it, you know what? Jamie Villalobos sent me a little video, and we'd really been working with her and Sean on this again. Then we worked with their senior leadership team, and then they went back and worked with their teams. And she sends me a video, and we started working with them a few months ago on this stuff really intensely. And she sent me a video of 380 people reading their plans at one time in a meeting room. Before they got into the rest of their training, they all got out their plans and were walking around reading their plans with intensity, with emotion, fired up. Man, the energy level in that room was almost ready to blow the roof off the thing. All right? Now, you still got to do it. It's still going to be a battle. Some people develop a plan, they pansy out. They won't keep reading it, whatever it is. But I tell you, this elevates your game. It's one of the big 5 things for me. Now let's talk a minute about methods of inspiring others to do it. You got to help and challenge them to do everything I've just covered on this thing so far. You got to help them, and you got to challenge them to do the previous steps. You got to help them, and then you got to challenge them to achieve their goals, not yours. Right? I would give somebody a certain amount of help on developing a plan, and then I tell them, you got to do the rest. If I hadn't been through the process of doing this, it wouldn't have the effect that it had on me. Everybody has to fight this battle. You know, you've got to give them some structure. I'm giving that to you now. All right? I give some inspiration. I hope I'm giving that to you. All right? But you got to have and keep high positive expectations with standards of excellence for people. And this is what's got to happen. This is who you want to be. Years ago, Monty Holm has told the story many times. I've told it many times. Years ago, Monty and I were both on a part of a leadership team in our first company, and we were both rising in the company. Good things are happening, and our leader of our hierarchy called a senior leadership retreat. I don't know if you call it, the set one, and we went into Aspen, Colorado, from all around the country, and a whole bunch of us were together, and it was big cabins with bunk beds, and, you know, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 of us were in this big room. But before I go to bed, I got to read my plan. When I get up in the morning, I got to read my plan. Before I do anything else, I read my plan. And this is going to blow their minds a little bit. I'm walking back and forth. Everybody else is sitting in their bunk. And I'm reading my plan and fired up and intense. And I'm telling you, they didn't know what to make of me. I mean, I promise you, some of them just thought I was an idiot. But I wasn't. At least not about that. But I had that. And I wouldn't let anything get in the way of reading it aloud morning and night. I didn't care what anybody thought. I wasn't embarrassed. By the way, all those people are gone, not even in the business, except one is the only other guy that had a written plan. He didn't get him read it out loud. He was reading it to himself in his bunk, as I found out later, and that was Monty. And we ended up being co-founders of this company. How about that? You think that's a coincidence? Not a chance. I'm just not good enough to maintain the focus level I need, the desire level I need, my attention to detail that I need in order to get myself and my family to the promised land without putting all of this to writing and clearly defining it. And that's the game. Now, I want to give you an example of a personal plan, not just a business plan, but taking these very same principles and applying it to a personal life. So I'm going to throw the whole thing up here, and I'm going to read you a version of what I read myself. And this was back then. It's been updated since, but this is a good basic review. And I'll read it the way I read it. I am and must constantly strive to be a great, loving husband and father. A loving, warm, tender, happy home life with my family is the way to experience heaven on earth. I will find deep happiness and peace through my service to my family. My commitment and focus is constant and eternal in perspective. I'll be positive and with humor look on the bright side of how wonderful our life together is and will always be. We'll work together to have patience, self-respect, respect for each other, trust, harmony, and fun. We'll regularly count our blessings. We'll be unselfish and serve one another. We'll honor our parents. I'll be creative and thoughtful in my romance with Cindy. I have a dream wife. We will share many wonderful times together as I focus my love on her happiness. We'll have weekly dates and regular, exciting mini honeymoons. That one always fired me up, those regular, exciting mini honeymoons. I am father to Alicia, Richard, and Brett, remarkable children who will know every day their father loves, respects, and believes in them. I will have private, loving, one-on-one listening interviews with each of them every week. I will set this appointment every Sunday for the week following. My role as a husband and father is my greatest joy and responsibility on this earth. I am happy as I commit all I have to their happiness. I am so blessed to be a husband and family man. My heart is full, and this blessing is truly wonderful. Now imagine, dads, moms, if you had your version of this, and you read it every day, morning and night, morning and night, morning and night. I mean, what do you think about that? You know, so this is powerful stuff. You can't read that every day, twice a day, weeks, months, without it having really a substantive impact in how you conduct yourself as a husband and father, or as a wife and a mother, or as a daughter or a son to your parents. Whatever you write in there, how you deliver for your children. There's always such a good reminder, you know, and all of a sudden I'd remind myself, man, we've been so busy, we've dropped the ball on our weekly dates these last couple of weeks. And then I'd make sure that right then, right after I was done reading the plan, that Cindy and I set a date for a date night so we could keep our courtship alive. If I'm not reading it, maybe I drift for maybe another 6 weeks or 6 months. And all of a sudden now I've damaged my family life, my marriage, because I lost concentration on the things that matter. I read about people that say, well, it's natural in a married life. It grows a little stale. You get a little bored with each other. That's BS. That's only if you let that happen. You know, those of you heard me talk about this, I mean, it happened again just last night. I took my wife we went out to eat. We've had our 39th wedding anniversary, and we shared that with time with Raja's team. But then we came back. We went on a date night. We knew we could get to it, and we went out to dinner at this place we like in Carmel. And I looked at my beautiful wife, and we just talked, and you know, and she said something, you know, and teased me, and I got goosebumps. All right, here we are in our 40th year of our marriage, and I'm getting goosebumps from my wife. And that's because we keep focused on these things. Bless your life with you guys. If all you did was listen to this webinar and do what I just showed you there, what a wonderful impact that would have. I would feel good knowing that I'd made a contribution and given you a tool that if you used it, that would allow you to bless your home and to bless your relationships that are the most important. Now let's go to another one. Let's go to financial. And I'm going to throw that up there and run through. What if you're reading something like this? Okay? I started out, great debt-free financial strength. That's something I love reading myself. Great debt-free financial strength. I am wealthy, debt-free, and independent. I'll continue to hold my conservative, service-oriented, debt-despising philosophy. I am achieving all the following objectives by increasing my income and controlling my expenses. It feels fabulous to experience total financial independence. Wasn't that a good one? That was so good, I'm going to read it to you again. I am wealthy, debt-free, and independent. I'll continue to hold my conservative, service-oriented, debt-despising philosophy. I'm achieving all the following objectives by increasing my income and controlling my expenses. It feels fabulous to experience total financial independence. How about that one? If you just read that, right? That was 3 sentences. That'd be pretty good. But it keeps you focused, increases your desire. From January to December, I will put blank amount per month on my home mortgage, right? That's when I had a home mortgage. To pay off my last remaining debt. I'll never need or want to borrow again. I have blank in personal cash savings. I might have said $500,000. I might have said in the beginning $50,000 or $100,000. I might have said $200 million. Now, in my personal savings by December of 20, whatever it is, right? I'll have an average of blank. I will save an average of blank per month. I'll have X amount in liquid assets by January 1, 2019, right? When you're starting a new year, or now you'd upgrade and you go 2020. Tighten up and stay tight on personal and business expenses. Have a clear written line item budget for personal and business. My career is in large part wasted without financial discipline. Update these objectives regularly. I'm a great steward and enjoy winning financially. So that doesn't take long to read when you rattle through it. You put your own numbers in there. But imagine you reading yourself something like this, morning and night, day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out. Understand, you end up lapping the field. Same thing with that personal plan. This is fun, isn't it? But now I'm going to go through a base and super base. And I'm going to rattle through this because time's a wasting here. Yeah. And because this has a little more substance to it. You, of course, can get this. It's all being recorded, and you can go through it whatever pace you want. But as we look at this and you consider what's going on, think about now your business plan or your lack thereof. Think about competing with somebody or someone else competing with you if you were doing this and they weren't. But just mainly think about how much better every aspect of how you do the business would be if you're reminding yourself of this stuff all the time. So let's go through it. I must be more intense about what will win for my family and our team than I've ever been before. All the work we've done up to now has been to prepare us for this move. Now, if you just started, you might say, everything I've done in my life has been to prepare me for this move. Right? All the work we've done up to now has been to prepare us for this move. Do not waste this golden opportunity to win big. Lead the team more energetically and enthusiastically every day. Everything you've wanted to achieve is on the line. This rare time will not last forever. Give it all you have. See how it energizes you when you read it? If you were saying it out loud, it'd be even more powerful. We must gear up recruiting constantly. This is my greatest strength and ability. Attack, attack, attack. We must do more than blank recruits and blank points in the base and blank recruits and blank points in the super base and I'd write down, right, if I'm updating this plan, in January of 2019. Be intense about these goals and what you need to do to accomplish them. If I'm in December like we are now, I'd be reading my December numbers. But by the end of the month, I have to upgrade and start reading my January numbers. Be intense about these goals and what you need to do to accomplish them. I'm willing to give most of my time, 6 days a week, and invest a great deal of emotional intensity and mental energy to achieve total victory in my business. I'll be constantly positive. I'm going to grind it out and love it. That's what I'm willing to give in return. Remember that step when we were going through it? You have to put out, what are you willing to give in return? I'm going to grind it out and love it. It just makes me feel good to read, right? Because it just brings all these emotions out. Whoops. My ultimate priority is rapid, effective growth. We must always be after it. Every day is important. All of us need to be talking about these same things. It's got to be kept simple and consistent. Be obsessed with recruiting. And I write down, this is old, right, recruiting and building now. Never take your concentration off of it. Recruiting and building is our business. Always talk it. Constantly challenge the team and our leadership to recruit, build, and lead. And that would remind me to do exactly that in every session, in every way, in every one-on-one, in every impromptu conversation in the hallway. I was programming myself. Right? Woo! Anyhow, keep going. And then I started writing down the things. So that was my preamble to my plan. And here were the specifics. My base shop is the originating source of all power, prestige, income, and the key to the big time. I must build and maintain a giant base shop, my number one priority. Must also build a huge first-generation team. I'll read what I used to read. 100 SMDs in order to have a chance at total victory. Think big and keep it simple. I've got to be willing to do the same things over and over again. This has to be a special effort. Work hard. Set a superb personal example. Keep your personal activity high. Continue to personally recruit and field train as an example to others and never quit your number one job. See, a lot of you drift in your personal recruiting and your field training because you're not reading it, right? You drift. You procrastinate. It's killing you. Stop it. Get on a plan. Clearly define your goal. Follow up every aspect of our recruiting system. Control the point of contact. Make sure the new recruit is being helped to contact that natural market effectively. Motivate leaders to help. Talk invitations constantly. Always keep the pipeline full. Always create a high expectation of heavy recruiting activity. All big winners recruit big. Make sure BPM attendance, new and old, is rising. Do an effective BPM and teach it to others. Make sure the BPM teams of our organization are motivated, enthusiastic, and know their responsibility. Follow up all interviews, meetings, classes, and make sure they're motivational and enthusiastic. Keep the team on fire. Make sure more and more new and old people are coming to our meetings. We must recruit above ourselves. Check age, marital, financial, and business status of our recruits. Make sure AMAs are in rapidly. Instill a sense of urgency in our leaders to follow up fast. Can you imagine you're reading something like this to yourself all the time? right? And how different you perform every day. Woo! This is how you open up a can of whoop ass on people. Yeah, can I say that in a webinar? I guess I did. All right. 9, start our recruits fast. Challenge recruiting and field training from day one. Focus them on their SMD promotion. We are an SMD, that's supposed to be no D there. We are an SMD factory. Always be an outspoken crusader. Educate the team on how and why we're right, constantly, right? Make sure our recruits own the product. Make sure all who attend the BPM. By the way, I can read make sure our recruits own the product because I pay attention to age, marital status, financial and business status of our recruits. We recruit the market we want to sell to, right? Make sure all who attend the BPM and those who don't are followed up for product. Promote base shop meetings, business format schools, fundamental workshops, training events, and big events. Use these as tools to stimulate increased activity among the team, capture their imagination, stretch their vision, constantly review the field proficiency of our leaders. Always check new and existing leadership here. That reminded me to interview my field trainers in my base and make sure my leaders were doing the same thing. Expect a high volume activity from all leaders on the team. A good, active base shop leader should be involved in at least 4 recruits and 8 sales a month. All levels in this business should be making a good income. Hold up successful members as heroes as they set winning examples. Our base leaders must know how to. And then I did a list, and I did this one. I did used to read this, but I kind of brought this into the, into the rest of what we were doing in that plan. But I list this to give you an idea of the kind of things you've got to follow up on and got to keep on your mind to keep checking quality as you're running your business. Otherwise, it slips. Our base leaders, and this is our senior associates, our MDs, if you don't use senior associates, MDs, everybody, my SMDs, I check off on them, right? So here we go. Our base leaders must know how to and do business plans and set goals. Develop and maintain prospect lists. Invite the BPM. Control the point of contact. Mozone and sharp BPM protocol. Run powerful, sincere BPMs in classes. Good follow-up interviews. How to recruit one-on-one. How to be A&A aggressive. How to sell field train effectively. How to use the referral system. How to use the matchup system. How to meet all compliance requirements. How to develop team meetings, format schools, training events, and move team to major events. And how to follow up and monitor every aspect of this all the time. So I read that to myself. One, it reminded me that I needed to be talking to these people about where they were on these things. Constantly follow up and monitor every aspect. There's no way you can keep all that on your mind without a written plan. Your referrals are drift. Your BPM quality will drift. Next thing you know, people aren't even doing follow-up interviews. They're just trying to sign them up right at the end of the meeting without working on that connection, right? The quality of your pre-meeting stuff before a BPM, if you hold BPMs, it really drops off, right? People are talking to people, but they aren't being aggressive about getting the AMA in, electronically. You have several ways to recruit, several generations of recruits. You didn't pay attention to whether or not they were getting taught how to do good one-on-one recruiting presentation. Some of you don't even know what the matchup system is. I have written down there. And so that's how much that's drifted. All right, and so you look at these things, and this is how you get it done. You get it in a plan. So I'm going to keep going with this base shop super plan. Click too far. Communicate. Make constant phone and personal contact with all active people in your base shop. Notice I didn't say text, email. Zero in on your best players and give them firm direction. Build a great, powerful phone, voicemail, note, letter, email, newsletter, mega habit. All that communication is good, but I tell you what, it's in person and then phone, voicemail, that kind of stuff. I'm a compulsive communicator. Talk to your first-generation SMDs and key leaders every week about their recruiting numbers, their points, their possibility thinking. Inspire them to excel. Meet with them personally once a month. Produce at least, whatever it was, blank no first-generation SMDs by December 31st of 20 whatever. Meet with our leaders at all levels all the time. Watch for and ask about promising newcomers. Constantly set goals and motivate your leaders in terms of what will turn them on. Go over goals and plan of action for each key manager regularly. Struggle to grow and improve yourself. My performance and abilities in the areas of motivation, communication, recognition, and personal relationships must always be improving. Concentrate on becoming better every day. Within all of my work, keep a great positive attitude. Express love and praise constantly to the team. Search for reasons to recognize and praise. Develop a creative and active recognition program. Always work hard to make others feel good. Always be in the dream selling business. Sell the dream, sell the dream, sell the dream. Now I just talk about always be selling the dream of a better life, right? Think bigger, think bigger, think bigger. Think bigger than you ever have before. Always crank it up. Never accept defeat. Keep attacking. Make and save big money. Earn $25 million by December 31st, 2019. Save. All right, we're having fun now, right? Save $1 million per month, or $1.5 million per month, or $2 million per month, and accumulate $20 million by the end of the year. Bring it. To win big and be happy, my priorities must be in order. I'll fulfill spiritual, family, emotional, physical, and financial goals. I'll always keep an eternal perspective. A winner's a winner in all areas of his life. Or her. This is life's great challenge. All right? There you go. Think about that. To win big and be happy, my priorities must be in order. I'll fulfill spiritual, family, emotional, physical, and financial goals. I'll always keep an eternal perspective. A winner's a winner in all areas of his or her life. This is life's great challenge. Don't ever let up. Be competitive. Be intense. You're meant to be number one. Don't let anybody take your spot at the top. Always be in the hunt. Be disciplined. Manage your time and praise God. Attend to your family. Do all the things you need to do to win big. Huh? That's the stuff I'd read myself. Now, I go to breakfast or take a shower or whatever or go to bed if it's at night. And all this stuff is in my head. Imagine the edge you get when you're doing this. Man, I wish you all would do this and understand the power. Some of you are feeling it. And someone just asked, I hope I can get access to this. Yep, it's online. You go online, WFG, and anyway, find it. So, here we go. Final thoughts. Plans are nothing. Planning is everything. So you're always planning. You're always updating. Our great president and one of the great generals of World War II, Dwight D. Eisenhower, said that. Plans are nothing. Planning is everything. Reduce your plan to writing. The moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire. That's Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Reduce your plan to writing. The moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire. A good system shortens the road to the goal. Another one. When planning for a year, plant corn. When planning for a decade, plant trees. When planning for life, train and educate people. That's our job. That's what our plans revolved around. Okay. Last thing, next webinar. What's the one thing? Spoiler alert, there's actually 5. The one thing. All right? And I'm going to talk about those one things, all 5 of them. Now, I don't have to spend a lot of time on number 5, which is clearly defined goals and a written plan, but I'll still emphasize it. And that's January 9th, 2019. It'll be a new year. Please don't reach January 9th without having a written plan. Clearly defined goals and a written plan. You know, if you're struggling with personal recruiting, not only do you need to state you're going to personal recruit and how many you're going to average per month, but you need to write some things down in that plan about what's going to get you to do it. You know, what kind of content you're going to make. What are you going to do about prospecting? What do you do to make this stuff happen? Right? And you develop a plan. If you don't know enough to have a plan, talk to somebody who knows more than you. That's the answer, you know. And get it cleared up. And make this thing happen. All right. So there we go. Someone just said, can you send out a copy of your plan? It's on this webinar. You don't need the one I have now. You need the one I read when I was working to the position I'm in now. Now I'm talking about the company getting the 10 billion points. You don't need to be reading that one. But I sure want you reading your own version of that so we can go ahead and do the 10 billion. Yeah. And we can have them upload a PDF of this too. So there you go. All right, everybody. Sure appreciate you. Love being in business with you. And there's not a day, certainly not a day, it's hardly an hour that goes by where I don't feel the privilege of my association with all of you. Even the many of you that I've never met and may never meet. I appreciate it. Always feel that at a real emotional level. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure going through this webinar. Let's make December an incredible month, but make sure it's also an incredible month of clearly defined goals and a written plan to achieve it in the important areas of our life. Thank you. Love you. Bye.